E temos agora a satisfação de convidar a Isabelle Reiss, da Clarivate Analytics. Isabelle, por favor.
Olá a todos. Primeiro que tudo, obrigada à organização do SciELO por nos convidar e parabéns, realmente, para toda essa organização de um congresso muito interessante. Vou tentar, então, finalizar as apresentações sobre esse tema muito importante e vou tentar falar um pouco, em geral, sobre o tema. Primeiro que tudo, apresentar quem somos. Nós somos herdeiros do EASY e, de fato, a nova ANET foi... I'm going to speak in English. I was about to do that. Sorry. So, we'll do the revival of ISI, and one of its mission will be to try and generate new metrics to adapt to all this changing world, in particular to these open access policies. And so this will be the new mission of ISI, and I hope that by next year we'll already see some of these new metrics emerge and go to the evaluation of people. So, as Kate said, let's see if we're all on the same page regarding the definition of what we understand by these three worlds. And first of all, interoperability, which would be defined like the exchange to which systems and devices can exchange data and interpret that shared data. I wanted to try and think of examples of what would be interoperable systems, and it would be, for instance, a platform that hosts different databases to make them interact by way of this citation connection. So here we can think of SciELO Citation Index, for instance, which is hosted on the Web of Science and has a chance to be to interact with the Chinese citation database, with the Web of Science core collection, or with the Korean citation database. So another example of interoperability could be thought of as a plugin that would both memorize our subscription entitlements, our credentials, and it would search for additional open access documents, resolving the link directly from the Web of Science in one click to deliver in this same environment the full text that has been found. And this is Copernio, and I invite you to search for this, this free open access plugin that has been developed by a startup and was acquired by Web of Science, but delivers access to more than 12,000 open access journals and allows people to both have one-click access to their Untitled subscription by the library and everything that is in open access outside. Another open access platform that would be an illustration of interoperability would be a platform where reviewers would make their work visible and where publishers could feed the completed review automatically from the journal management system. And this platform will also feed ORCID profiles. So this would be a very nice example of interoperability, and this is Publons. So here are three examples of different platforms that act with one another. And then I would like to talk a little bit about visibility, which would be the capability to be observed and of providing an obstructive view, so both sides. And if you think of the visibility of the whole platform, then it is easy. You can do that maybe with marketing, with sales, with distribution. But what we want to think of is the visibility of each item, and a fair way in such that every single item of a big database would have the same chances to be visible. And here, that's where we come to more difficulties. Because we go back to indexation, and indexation is at the core of making everything visible. And of course, there are patrons, you know, out there that say how you have to index. But if it were so easy, then we wouldn't have database that after the fifth page just give duplicate items. So it is not so easy to index properly and to give to every item of a database a chance to be visible. So first of it is the rigorous indexation. But secondly, you need to have filters to empower this indexation, filters that would be able to act on every single field of indexation. So we're talking about a very powerful technology as well. And after that, since I've mentioned the duplicate results or the different versions of the same article, then permanent curation is necessary. You have to disambiguate, and then you have to unify. Now, if you want to retrieve, aggregate data, then your database has to be unified to improve the consistency of your results. So the theory is there, but doing it work properly is quite a challenge. So, and I'm sure that everybody in this room involved in creating repositories knows about these challenges. Talking about credibility, the quality of being believable or worthy of trust. So we talked about the curation, disambiguation, unification that were mentioned before that would help on gaining on credibility. I think that another important factor of credibility is probably the clarity of processes, which data has been harvested and how, and fairly enough, Cathy pointed out to their site where, you know, everybody will be able to see in dimension where the data comes from. This is certainly a very strong aspect of credibility. And what are the criteria of selection? And importantly enough, what are the criteria for deselection? And this is something that needs to be clarified as well, and that would help on credibility. So then I have another question would be, how are these results displayed? What is the hierarchy? Why do I see these results in the first page? And this also has to be explained, and it has to be, you know, any database should say our default exhibition is this and this, and you can change it if you want, and you should be able to change it according to each of the fields that had been indexed, and this would improve the credibility of your database as well. So some examples. Oh yes, it's a very quick screenshot where we can see that the SciELO, the Russian Citation Index, the Korean Citation Index, Chinese, and so on are all together interacting in this database, which is Web of Science, with the core collection and with the patents of the Derwent Innovation Index. What is coming is that we are going to give an option for people to select and deselect databases, and I think that for Latin America it's going to be great because they will be able to select SciELO with WAS and only that, or SciELO with, and see how these bad databases, as many as you want, or can interact. So this is a great thing that is coming. An important thing that we are modifying as well on the Web of Science, as I was telling, there is this Coordenador thing, that plugin that allows you to have full text to over 12 million articles beyond your own subscriptions. And we are going to do a more granular organization of the open access. For the moment, we have this little square here on the left saying gold, green, or green accepted or green published. And by the end of the year, we'll also have the green submitted. This is a very important news, that Web of Science will index the preprints. we'll certainly learn a lot together with the community about how to handle the preprints. Probably at first they're going to be, yes, in a separate database that will be clickable or not. You'll have to click. You will be able to include it in your search or not. And then, yeah, together with everybody, we're going to learn how to handle this preprint. But of course, this is something that is very important to the open access community. So together with these granular filters, we'll include a collection of preprints. This is, yeah, I think it's a good move. Where do I point? Here? Or did I go too far? Oh, yeah. So this is just a general view about possibilities of interaction, not only from a platform, but of course the extraction of data from the Web of Science can interact in any institutional repository with Vivo, with Symplectic, Digital Measure, or even Pure, or Data 180. So here I think that the idea here is, you know, if you're going to do measurements about something, are you sure that you can trust that the data that you're feeding into your systems? Has it been disambiguated? Is it clean? Otherwise, any statistical data that you would extract from there, if the sample is not true, is not correct, then your statistic is also going to be biased. And here, the news about transparency, I think. Clarivate, I think the new Clarivate is doing a lot of effort since being more transparent, and one of the news of the JCR this year was to show what are where the citations were coming from for each journal, how is the repartition of citation for each of the articles that were counting as citable items, what were they. So more transparency here, and here another interoperability. SciELO itself is an interoperable database. Now it comes from very different countries that are autonomous in doing their own SciELO curation, and then it all worked together into SciELO Citation Index, which is on the Web of Science integrally. And in this little square here, you can see how SciELO Citation Index interacts with the other database of BioSys Citation Index, or here got a citation from the Chinese database. And this 14 collection, SciELO collection, all work together in the SciELO. So I think, you know, maybe one keyword here about interoperability, visibility, and credibility would be maybe transparency, you know, transparent database structure that would enable interoperability and control, transparent displays of hierarchy that will ensure visibility of every item and also ensure multiple filtering possibilities, and also transparent harvesting workflows and selection and deselection criteria to maintain our credibility. And here, some questions, and actually I have many more questions about this. I thought I would stick to a rather a smaller list. If transparency of criteria is necessary to gain on credibility, so what we were talking before, everybody should ask themselves, why do I see these results rather than the other on the first page? Is it because of my search history? Is it because of my language, my profile, my location? Is it because of others' history, because it's a trend topic? So we really have to be quite analytical and critical about that. You know, technology is allowing providers to do a lot with what we're going to see first. If curation is necessary to gain credibility and also to let room for visibility of each and all items, after how many pages of result do I only find duplicate results or slightly different indexation of the same result, slightly different, or same indexation of a slightly different record. So this is something that, with the multiple versions of the article and the preprints and so on, we'll have to think about as well. And if I look, it's red, if I look at aggregated data or statistics and ratio based on aggregated data, can I go back to the source? Can I verify? Can I control? Can I recalculate? So it is very important as well. And then a last question, can there be an excess of interoperability, or what would it be if it existed? And think about, I came to example of where different systems that were independent start to be interoperating, but finally in a way that they are closed up into one system, and if you're not part of this system, that you cannot go in. So, and this happens, like startups that are being absorbed, you know, and then are part of a package, and then this package is closed. So this would be maybe an excessive interoperability, locking up customers into one sole environment. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabelle. Obrigado, Isabelle.